What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to talk about my handstand training. This is the beginning of my handstand kind of journey. I do kind of have a leg up on it because I am a gymnastics instructor, so hopefully I would know how you should do a proper handstand. I can't hold a consistent handstand. I didn't actually grow up taking gymnastics. I was a self-taught tumbler. So I do all the flips and things like that. That's how I got into gymnastics. But now I'm going to teach myself a handstand, specifically some type of press handstand. The goal eventually, way down the road, is to do a stalter press, but obviously that's not in the cards right now. So I was going to work towards a straddle press, and then I found very quickly that my straddle is nowhere near good enough. So now I am switching gears to more of a tuck press while I'm stretching my straddle out and things like that. Once my straddle is good enough, then I'll switch from tuck press to straddle press. But as of right now, because of how bad my straddle is, my legs hang out too far. So they're kind of pulling me down this way. And it is very hard for me to actually press into it the proper way without having to lean an exponential amount and use strength that I just don't have at the moment. So straddle is out of the equation. Obviously, so is pike. The next thing would be to do some type of tuck press. So as you can see, if your legs are tucked, there is nothing hanging out over here pulling you down. So I'm going to start with the tuck press because I don't have the flexibility / mobility to do anything else. And the tuck press actually seems feasible with my level of strength. I just can't consistently balance a handstand in order to tuck press. I messed around with my press handstand training 1 week, trying to figure out what exercises are feasible, what are just I shouldn't even be worrying about right now. But tuck press seems the way to go. In a bit, I will show some attempts. Probably won't show any attempts at actually pressing into it, but I will show you my negatives. I do have some concentric exercises I'm doing to work the beginning of the pushing up motion. I'll show you those later on. But the first thing I always start with, I have a little cheat sheet because I have them saved on my phone. The first thing I always do before my handstand is stretch my straddle. Just because I want to stay in the habit of opening up that range of motion. So whenever I am ready to do a straddle press or like a proper straddle negative or something like that, I'm still in that habit of opening that range of motion before I start my workout. Even though right now for a tuck press, I don't need to open up any sort of range of motion, but I will need it in the long run, so I might as well start now. So the stretches I do aren't like extensive. There are a handful of them, but it's not some like elaborate thing. But it should be enough to get the job done. I always see in stretching videos of people doing like a follow along stretch routine, and they're always like, oh, hold it each for like 30 seconds. I go for a minute as opposed to 30 seconds. I feel like I just open up more doing it that way. First stretch is kind of like a modified frog pose. It's a frog pose with one leg out. And I kind of just slide my foot until I start to feel a stretch and start the timer. This one is kind of, you should feel a little kind of in the backish of your knees, stretching your hamstrings, but a lot of it will also be your groin muscle area. And again, I just do this for 1 minute. Every now and then, I try to open up a little bit farther, trying to get as deep as I can. And then I just do it one time on each side. I'll probably cut this out so I'm not sitting here in silence for like a minute stretching. All right. That was a minute on that side, so now I'm doing a minute on the opposite side. The next exercise I do is just the conventional frog pose. I like isolating one side at a time to begin with to open up the range of motion a little bit, because I find that if I go straight for the frog pose, which is just this, I'm not going into huge detail about everything, but I do one side at a time. That way it opens the range of motion, because if I don't do one side at a time and I go straight for this frog pose, I'm a little bit more closed off kind of here, and I just find that I don't really feel a stretch at all whenever I do this. So I do one side at a time first. And then next exercise I do is just your typical butterfly. And I start off by doing a butterfly, pushing my knees down. It does help if you have your back leaning against something, especially if you're really tight in this position like I am. To get a decent straddle, it's going to take me quite a while because of how tight I am. My hamstring flexibility isn't terrible, but like the flexibility in like my groin area is absolutely atrocious. You'll see that whenever I get to the next exercise. And then the next exercise is still a butterfly, but one where you're reaching forward. I am so tight at this stretch that I basically can't just do it by reaching forward. So this is me actually trying to reach forward as far as I can, which isn't great. Usually I do this at the park. So they have the battle ropes there. I just grab one of those and like pull myself down into it. But you can also just kind of hold your feet and pull yourself down. So that's what I'm going to do on this one. Try to not round your back. If you can, you want to try to keep as much of a straight back as possible for this. And then I just pull myself down and hold it. And yes, I look like I'm barely doing anything, but I already feel like a huge stretch in my groin. And then every so often, I just try to pull myself a little bit deeper. All right, and then this next exercise, I do have trouble getting into it on occasion. I guess I also have tight hips. I've never really worked on flexibility that much in the past. You're supposed to cross your legs completely open. As you can see, I don't have a lot of flexibility in my hip either. So this one is gonna work on your hip joint area, but you cross your legs and then you push your knee down. The goal would be to have your legs sitting flat on top of your foot. As you can see, I cannot do that. So this is yet another thing I need to work on. But as you stretch, you should be able to go a little farther and a little farther. Once I get towards the end of the stretch, I can almost touch my leg to my foot. Not quite there. And then you just do the same on the other side. And then once again, see how high I'm starting with my knee on this side. But towards the end of it, my leg should get closer and closer to my foot, as long as I just keep going a little bit farther every 10 seconds or so. And you can definitely tell from the start to the end of this stretch how much your range of motion is kind of opened up. Like again, I'm almost to the point where I'm touching my foot with my leg. Oh. You know it's a good stretch when you can't actually move your legs after. Now the next one is an actual straddle. This one I probably won't actually show the full thing because I'm going to be turned backwards to the wall. But you just put your feet up against the wall and then try to just move it as wide as you can using the wall to kind of hold your legs out. Kind of just here, and I'm inching my legs out. And then there's 2 stretches left. This one you'll do on each side, but it's kind of like a hamstring slash glute stretch. Cross your leg over your knee, and then you're kind of just leaning as far forward as you can. And also push this knee down just so I keep that stretch on the glute. You don't want to lean forward and let your knee come up. This one I don't feel in my hamstring as much. It's mostly in my like hip socket area slash glutes. Actually, I think on all of these exercises, honestly, my hamstrings are what I feel the least. But like I said, my hamstring is probably like the only thing I've ever actually stretched before. Not on purpose, just because some of the exercises I used to do, like RDLs, good mornings and stuff, kind of stretch your hamstrings, whether you want to or not. And then switch sides. Now there's only one exercise left, or one stretch left, and that is the middle splits. Middle split, straddle, call it what you want to call it. For this one, I have yoga blocks just to elevate my hands a little bit. And this one, you're just trying to go as low as you can in your middle splits, which should also help with your straddle. Once you feel the stretch, you start the timer. And then again, every 10 seconds, you want to try to get a little bit lower. This is where I'm starting off. I feel like it's not terrible, but it's not great either. Especially if you want to have like a good straddle press to handstand. Ideally, you would want to open up this range until, I mean, you can go all the way flat. And again, I just hold this for a minute. And I'm also kind of thinking about sitting my bottom back because I feel a deeper stretch that way. Wherever it hurts the most, that's where you want to hold it. Just make sure you're not like injuring yourself. Ease into it as much as possible. And that is it for the stretching. It's not super extensive. I mean, really doesn't take that long at all. If you did everything back to back, no breaks, it'd take like 11, 12 minutes. But I do this multiple times a week. As far as I know, you want to try to aim for like 5 minutes in every position, 5 minutes a week. I think at like the bare minimum to see some progress. And that counts as like the 1-leg frog, I'm spending a minute, and then the 2-leg straddle, I'm spending a minute. So that's already 2 minutes on one side. So things like that will also add up. So you don't have to do as much as you might think you need to do unless you are trying to get as far as you can in as little amount of time as possible. But I don't see the point of rushing it. I'm kind of just enjoying the process. After my stretch routine, then I would do my handstand workout. If the stretch routine is short enough, I'll probably just go ahead and cut it in with this video. If not, then it might be 2 separate videos. But we'll see. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, leave in the comments if you want me to actually go in depth with the stretch routine. This one I'm kind of just showing what I've been doing at the moment. I'm not really doing tutorial videos, but I can if you would like me to. And I'll see you in the next video.